It's time again, ladies and gentlemen. It's very terrible podcast time. I'm Jason, and it's finally time to get back to the history of the middle manager, part 3, entering the fire department. So it's been, I'd say, almost a month since we did part 2. And I had to go back and listen to the old show to see where I left off. I have a bunch of notes, but I didn't know. So basically, after the end of part 2, it's when I had made that decision that I was going to leave retail. Like, retail was over. Doing the song and dance and doing it over and over again, just changing your shirt and just, it's the same problems. It's people, it's personnel, and it's process. So and it all comes down to scheduling and payroll and salaries and overtime, and it's the same problems over and over. And you kind of lose purpose, I'd say. You don't have a sense of worth as far as what you're doing. You're just the guy that puts the canned peas on the shelf, and you exist. And if you were to die tomorrow, then they're going to plug you in with the next person, and the machine keeps going on. So with the support of my wife, we were able to save up enough salary to pay the bills for a year, and I went and I left retail to go to fire school. And in entering fire school, and then for any really of the public safety careers, what I will tell you is they are a young man or young woman's job. It's not really meant for the seasoned older people. And when I say older, especially in the world now, you don't have to look any further than you compare like down here to Florida. People in their 60s and 70s and 80s are very active in society. They have hobbies, they have jobs, they just keep moving, and physics will teach us an object in motion stays in motion. So when I say old as far as public safety goes, once you hit your 30s, things slow down. I went to fire school, and I was the second oldest in my class only because they had a senior citizen PIO, public information officer from a different city that was in my fire class that just needed to be fire certified, and he was in his 60s. And him and I were usually the slower and the older, being the older guys, we were the slower ones that had to work a little bit harder to get the same results. But, I went through fire school. I got myself fire certified and EMT certified, and that's what you have to do to be in the fire department. And with the part of the equation that not necessarily I didn't know about, but you don't get a job right away. You have to enter the workforce the same way everyone else does, except you have to bring in your qualifications. So I had to bring in the the fire school certificates and the EMT certificates to even apply for the jobs. And then you apply for the jobs. And the thing that I did not also realize at the time was government runs slow. The speed of bureaucracy is a turtle on its back. And it takes, like in the city that I work for now, it takes an average of 45 days to take a candidate to, hey, welcome, here's an application to, okay, we have you now, we'd like to offer you a job. It's like 45 days. It's quite a long time when you have bills to pay and responsibilities at home. So I completed fire school, and then I had to swallow the bitter pill of having to go back to retail because the secret of retail is they always need help. I knew they needed me. I needed a job, and I already knew how to run everything. So there's this weird dynamic where I came back as an entry-level employee with management knowledge on how the entire store worked at BJ's Wholesale Club. So it was a double-edged sword. It was good and it was bad. I was able to easily do the jobs because I knew how they were done. But then I also knew where the inefficiencies were because, these people who are now in charge of me that I used to be in charge of, I know how fast things are supposed to get done. And it was just one of those weird dynamics where either I would be frustrated with the inability of others to keep up to where the pace should be to get things done, or they would take advantage of the fact that I knew everything and just let me go and do it. So for a few months, there was a rocky road of, yeah, I still work here. Yeah, I left here to come back. I have to eat a crap sandwich here with some people. And now I'm going back to just, getting a paycheck so I can just keep my house afloat to where we can get a fire job. And eventually it did come around and go through the process. I had a dozen different interviews, and there's an interviewing style that's much different from retail, where in retail you sit and take like a computer test now, and it's like a little personality test. But in government, you do that along with an in-person interview, along with a lie detector test, along with a psychologist test. I mean, there's a myriad of different avenues that have to be taken to get the government jobs. Needless to say, it all got done. And then I go into the fire department now at 32 years old. The thing of the 32-year-old in a young person's job was you are going to come in and you have to work harder than everyone else. You are going to be slightly slower and not as strong as everyone else. The good side of it is that there's a maturity level that they didn't have. So though I came into a department and the group before me was full of 18-year-old, what I call calendar guys, they're just all working out every day in protein shakes and living the life, is that, they had the immaturity factor where they're going to go out and stay out till 2 a.m. and drinking, and they're going to go out and party every weekend, and they're going to go out and spend all their paychecks on just frivolous, jacked up pickup trucks. So the things that I had had done all that earlier in my life. I did all that as a manager back for Winn-Dixie. So I didn't have that itch of, I need to go out and I need to go and do these crazy things. So where I struggled with speed and, agility as far as being old, I made up for with maturity and being able to actually turn into a leaning post for some of the other, young and new people that were coming in, to be that voice of reason and to start to sit there and watch how it was that a fire department ran. And I could immediately start seeing similarities between the government fireman work and retail work. There's still structure, there's still communication, it's still customer service based. At the end of the day, the person that picks up 911 and calls on the phone is the customer, and you have to offer customer service. That part never changes. So I came into the department, and there was only 2 people in my hiring group, so that was pretty abnormal. A normal hiring group, especially when it's done in a government batch-style hiring, you can have anywhere from 5 to 15 people in a hiring group, and you have that ability to, say, get lost in the numbers. And it's something that a lot of the military guys will explain to you. Is like when you get into basic training, you don't want to be seen, heard, or known about. You just hide in the numbers, and that's how you survive. Well, my hiring group was me and one other young lady named Brittany, and that was it. So there's a spotlight on these 2 people that walk in. There's an old guy and there's Brittany, and there's a bunch of frowny faces because they're like, okay, there's only 2 of you, and all of a sudden now they're going out of their way to have to deal with us. And I could quickly figure out that hierarchy of how people were treated, and you could figure out those similarities and polarities between government and retail and kind of see how everything interacted. And being that there were similarities, I was able to, compensate for my shortcomings and excel in areas without threatening the egos and existing structure that was already in place. And unfortunately, like for Brittany, she was a female going into a male-dominated environment. She was, had to work harder to keep up with the physical attributes of the job, and she did not make it off probation. Happy ending to the story, though, for her is she is very successful in her same style career in emergency medical services with the transport agency. So though she didn't find success in the fire department where I work, she was successful in life, which she deserves on her path where she went. So you get into this job and you're already behind and you're going to be the old guy and you're going to have all these things to come over. And I started to realize, I'm like, all right, well, if I want to go back to what I'm good at, which was the manager side of things, I have to kind of make myself valuable. And that's the thing that you'll do no matter where you are. If you work in a hospital, a firehouse, a grocery store, it doesn't make a difference. What do you bring to the table that is different or better or something that's special that you could serve others with? And when you bring those things, you have a value to you that is rewarded, in the system that you work. So I made myself valuable by getting involved in the ancillary parts of a fire department. I became a union steward. I worked on the pension board. I learned the scheduling system because scheduling and payroll is what I did before. So I was selected to be the one of the schedules. I don't even know what to call it. It's a administrative function of the job, but it's just like, whenever the scheduling program needs an update or has a problem, they call me. And it was like the same manager things, right? Like, for the union, it was the labor side. It's the wages, hours, terms, and conditions. It's the people who have, something wrong happened to them in the contract. They can't figure out the contract. They don't know how to fill out the papers. They don't know if they're allowed to complain. The pension side of it is big, right? That's the retirement part. That's the reason why everybody shows up to work every day. And that's the reason why you even save your money at home, is that so someday you don't have to do it. So I went in and I applied the skills and knowledge I had in investing, and I learned the pension plan and the pension system. And then so with the union, the pension, and the telestaff, I became sort of the go-to guy. And I've had people tell me over the course of my career is, well, you're the guy we call. Like if we don't know something, doesn't matter what it is. What article of the contract is XYZ? Where in the rules and regulations is this rule? Where in the city ordinance does this pension law exist? And things like that, to where I became that guy. So though I didn't have to be the fastest, I didn't have to be the strongest, I was the one that could be relied upon for the information, or to show the people that it was safe. They had a safe way to talk to me. We could communicate, and I was able to provide everyone else a way to be successful, which in essence is what management really is. And over the last, it's been 16 years now? So now it's been 16 years, and I'm an officer in the fire department, and I'm in the twilight of my management career, and the shift has happened. And what I'll talk about in the shift really is that when I was in retail, it was your job it wasn't your job to do the work, it's your job to get it done. We talked about that in one of the other episodes. And essentially it's the same thing, except you're kind of buttering your own bread. You're like, hey, look, I was able to get this store put back together. I was able to get these numbers done. I was able to achieve these inventory numbers, X, Y, Z. Now it's turned into a little bit different. I don't need achievement for myself anymore. Where I am in the fire department, I've made choices to where I don't need to, and I don't want to promote any higher. I have a very good setup where my firehouse is around the corner from my real house. I have a great crew who I've provided an environment where they can be successful and they can be comfortable, which has always been my vision. And even since the first day I was a fireman, I came in and I said, I want to have a firehouse of my own someday. And in that firehouse, everyone is going to relax and smile and have fun and kick ass. And we're going to, just be the best of the best all the time. And we're going to have fun doing it. And in my opinion, I have been able to provide that for the last 4 or 5 years to different people in my crews. And that success is starting to really snowball. But it's not about me anymore. It's about what I can provide for them. We do a lot of studies in leadership and management, and I think we already talked about the difference between a leader and a manager is that the manager has problems brought to them and corrects the problems and gets the system put back. The leader goes out and about, finds a problem before it shows up, makes the system that is not going to have issues, and then provides that headway. They don't have to be reactive. So they're separate and simultaneous, leadership and management, but they are they have a different function. One's kind of a before and the other one's an after function. So now I am able to provide that environment where my people that come in and spend time with me, we don't talk about me anymore. We talk about them. What do they need? What education do they want? What is their vision for when they get their firehouse? And it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. It's really important that everybody knows that, when you walk into your job, I don't care if you're working at a Home Depot or a grocery store or a firehouse, you walk in and you close your eyes and you can see yourself in charge. You can see you're having your own store. You can see yourself having your own firehouse. And here's the secret. It's real. It's a real thing. You can do it. I've done it. And it's an amazing achievement. It just takes time and fortitude to be able to go through the different challenges that are going to come your way. So now that's what I do is I talk to my people about what is it that they want. And the thing is, you're going to meet people that don't have visions of grandeur. They don't want to have their own store. They don't want to have their own firehouse. They have different priorities. And that's not necessarily to mean that they're bad and you're good or vice versa. I've met people that say, I want to be an entry-level fireman. That's all I want to do. I'm good at it. I can get paid, and I can go out and be the best husband I can be, the best dad I can be, the best wife, the best mother. I can go out and do those things because my priority is family, not job. And, that's where they apply themselves. And, everybody balances it out differently. Once again, just like money, there's no right or wrong. It's just what's good for you and what's good for your family. So as we've gotten into these studies of different management techniques and different leadership techniques, one that comes up a lot is servant leadership. And the idea is that you are there to provide. You are there to provide the tools and opportunities for your people to be successful. And eventually, and where I've gotten in my career is that the joy I now find in my career no longer comes from me. I don't need to have, another promotional ceremony. I don't need to have another award. The things that I really love the most now is I received a Facebook instant message probably a year ago now from somebody I worked with in BJ's that had just told me, hey, you spent time with me and I wrecked my car and you took me to work and you spent time with me and helped me and taught me these things. And now I'm a manager and I'm doing this up in Ohio and I've got a team of people and they're doing great. And I went, that's what it's all about. That's the legacy that I want to leave behind. And even in the past year in my firehouse, what a fantastic year it's been. In the firehouse, there was the lieutenant who's in charge of the firehouse. They have engineers that are drivers and then firefighters down below them. But in the last calendar year, my last two engineers came in first and second place on their respective promotional tests. And my fireman was awarded Firefighter of the Year in the fire department. And my name never had to come up. I would just know that I got to spend time with them. I got to help them achieve goals, and I feel so happy and so proud when they go up and they get the respect and the awards and the rank that they deserve because of all that work. And I just take it and I put it in my pocket and I go, I got to help. And that is really, I think, as my career has come full circle, that really is the essence of management. It's no longer about me, but it's about celebrating others. And that's where I am as of today. So I've got a few years left of my career, and then we'll go right off into the sunset, hopefully into a radio career if somebody would ever pick me up. Somebody hopefully listening to the podcast, of the tens and tens of listeners that we have. But that's where we are. So it's no longer about me, and it's very relaxing. I was really surprised about that too. There's a way you sit back and just relax and go, okay, I don't have to run the rat race anymore. I'm no longer chasing that proverbial carrot that hangs out in front of you and have to jump through the hoops and do all these things. And you can be respectfully, terribly honest with people, as far as, hey, and we've had these discussions at the firehouse to say, hey, you know what, this isn't going to work, and here is why. So, that's really one of the greatest gifts, is that you get to sit there and, have that ease about it and to be able to put forth a legacy that is no longer about me, but about everyone else around me. So that is what I can offer as far as the synopsis of the history of the middle manager and where you've come from and where you go. It's been a fun journey. I was very fortunate to be given a set of abilities that put me into a lot of great positions and had a lot of fun while I was doing it. And it's going to be fun to not do it anymore, to be completely fair and honest. And then who knows? Like I said, the next chapter hopefully will involve radio, and maybe they need themselves a middle manager too. But that's about it. That's the history of the middle manager. We'll have some other middle manager topics as time goes on. Maybe we'll have some callers, and we'll take it from there. Otherwise than that, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Jason. This has been the Very Terrible Podcast. Goodbye.